for the convasion. Lesson from rejects from each and every person. Things to put my heart into action. And today I'm proud of my nation.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUL for life. We are IUL.
Welcome to this evening's edition of Today on One. I'm Isai Sipunga. In the news tonight, City of Windhoek solvency questioned. Government out of touch with people, states Swartboy. Katutura Hospital receives 5 million Namibia dollars for renovations. Escalating feed prices, a challenge for poultry farmers. And Roundup, Business on One, Comments Corner, Sports and the weather. First up, the city of Windhoek made a cumulative loss of over 3 billion Namibia dollars in the last 10 years. This was revealed by local authority councillor Jurgen Hecht, a member of the council's management committee, at a press briefing. The councillor said the fact that the city's liabilities exceeds its assets means it will not be able to deliver on services such as land.
Independent Patriots for Change representative in the council, Jurgen Hecht, said the losses have taken a toll on the solvency of the city and said this was affirmed by the Auditor General's report of 2020. Hecht also pointed out that this puts pressure on the city's cash flow as the city uses 200 million Namibian dollars overdraft to survive on its day-to-day operations.
So I just want to put it into context. Now, you know, very little companies or commercial enterprises can absorb such a loss over such an extended period of time. And this has taken a toll on the solvency of City of Windhoek. And if you look at the last official audit report, which is the one of June 2020, then the Auditor General stated very clearly that there is a material uncertainty on the commercial insolvency of City of Windhoek in the foreseeable future. As at 30th of June 2020, City of Windhoek's current liabilities of 2.3 billion were exceeding its current assets of 1.64 billion by 1.2 billion. Now, if I take now the draft financials which are received, then again I must say we have a shortage of 1.1 billion. So the situation, the solvency of Windhoek is catastrophic. It is of alarming proportions. This obviously puts tremendous pressure on our current cash flow. City of Windhoek presently uses a 200 million overdraft facility to survive on its day-to-day operations. Last week again, I found we were very close to our 200 million limit. This 200 million overdraft facility is presently City of Windhoek's absolute lifeline. Okay? City of Windhoek has got monthly cash inflows which varies from 350 to 450 million. And we've got three biggest costs and creditors which we pay every month, which is NAM water, NAM power and salaries of approximately 50, 130, 135 million. That makes up about 200 million. So what I'm saying is we've got between 350 and 450 million of cash inflow, but we've got fixed costs every month of 300 million, which is paying NAM water, NAM power and our own salaries. So you can see for yourself, that leaves very, very little room for maneuvering. You know, we've got cash net inflow then still of 100 to 150 million, with which you have to finance all the operating expenditure, not to mention any bigger capital projects.
According to HACT, they are stuck in a dilemma and there is no remedy for the problem, adding that they are unable to collect revenue owed to them by residents, pensioners, government, amongst others.
City of Windhoek has been stuck in this cash flow dilemma for the past 5-6 years, and no remedy has been found, unfortunately, over the past few years to fix this. Another huge problem is our outstanding debtors, our accounts receivable. In other words, services which we as City of Windhoek deliver, which we don't manage to collect. Our outstandings at the end of March this year, March 2022, amounted to 1.2 billion, of which 929 million was in arrear. It means only the difference was current. We've got handovers to Red Force of 450 million, pensioners hours 95 million, normal clients and business clients, so to speak, of 120 million is being owed. SOEs and government owes us 78 million, and so it goes on. These are some of the bigger components. So of that 1.2 billion which we currently have as outstanding, we have provided 700 million already. Again, you know, bad debts and poor collections are, I suppose, an inherent part of any business and any organization. But this is completely out of hand. If you look at the 700 million provision again, what could we have done with it? We could have built 1,400 houses of $400 each, the 2-bedroom houses. We could have tarred 700 kilometers of roads in Windhoek. We could have put up 7,000 floodlights. We could have done so many different things. So City of Windhoek is unfortunately not able to collect its own revenue. We've got another big issue, and we have to talk open about it, and that is the excessive remuneration policy.
HACT added that one of the solutions considered by the City of Windhoek when its financial results were released last year was to exchange its undeveloped land with government to rescue their insolvency.
The Landless People's Movement leader Bernardo Swartboy said the current government lost touch with the masses and has demonstrated its inability to create employment and improve the lives of citizens over the last 3 decades.
LPM's leader, Bernardo Swartboy, indicated that the Public Service Charter, in its current form, dismisses accountability and effectiveness of public service managers and enables corruption to a level that has resulted in shifting of alleged culprits from one public institution.
As far as we are concerned, as LPM, the current government has lost complete touch with the people of this country and has demonstrated over the past 32 years its complete inability to create jobs, create opportunities, and ensure a better life for all Namibians. To date, therefore, this country stands at a trajectory where the so-called Vision 2030 will never be achieved. There are factional fights, not on the basis of ideological orientation, but on the basis of personal ambition for presidency, even if others do not have the capacity, continues to define the political space of that ruling elite. The socio-economic and cultural, artistic and academic, psychological well-being of Namibia is completely compromised by the current administration. We are, therefore, in a major crisis. At LPM, we have the principle of recall, which is the ultimate principle of accountability. You can't reshuffle where there's a problem, moving cancer from one important institution of state to another important institution of state and think that you have resolved this issue. That is why some Namibians are crying and saying is LPM just wanting to fire people? We are not just wanting to fire people, but recalling people is what accountability looks like. We have a serious commitment with the compact that we've made with the voters, that if councillors do not behave in a particular pattern that we are educating them to behave, that our contract with the people of this country cannot become secondary. And therefore, even if you have given your best contributions to the party, there is no culture of entitlement, that because you have given so much to the party, that you are now enabled and entitled to go mess up in a local authority council or in a regional council or in parliament or in any other executive position. That is how accountability works. It's brutal. It's painful. I want to make an off-the-cuff comment. For 32 years, this country has been used, from the time of Semni Yoma to Bohamba to Hage, of the principle of reshuffling of one weak minister who makes a mistake at the ministry or where there are allegations of corruption, to be moved to another important state institution. And the principle of reshuffling has become the ideological bastion of SWAPO's way of apparently disciplining their comrades.
Swatboy further said that LPM will remain committed to disciplining their committee members and maintaining the political posture.
It appears that recalling and disciplining party members in government is a new thing. As a political party, building ourselves as the alternative for the future political governance of this state, we have always maintained that we must have a particular posture. Clean governance, transparency, a constant capacitation of our councillors and of our local organizing committee members so that they continue to grow in the mandate that we have as a political party. You would know that at this stage we have 67 local authority councillors. Out of them, hitherto, we have only recalled about 8 or 9. 2 have resigned themselves. This is a good record. Already in 3 years as a party and 2 years into governance, that we are able to say that we'll discipline a party member that is deployed in government. This is absolutely fantastic, and it must continue if people do not want to listen. As a party, the decision to remove a person from a public office is one of the most difficult decisions. It may seem for some that one wants to humiliate a person. It's never the case. It may seem for others that one wants to claim clean governance credentials at the expense of others. It is not the case. Why do we do this? It is because the compact with the communities that have voted demands that we instill discipline and an ethos of honesty and decency in our public discourse.
Swatboy noted that there's little to no direction and commitment from the current government to resolve cases of mismanagement that have made this administration.
There are different types of decisions, such as rational, habitual, impulsive, and coin tossing.
Let's get started.
The consumption of poultry containing food poisoning organisms, such as salmonella, but the danger to health can be dramatically reduced.
What about other organisms in the animal kingdom? Well, some animals are ectothermic.
Welcome to Lesson 5 for Grade 10 and 11 Mathematics.
Methodologies and approaches in order to produce relevant and suitable results.
The Katutura State Hospital, which is in a dilapidated condition, has been allocated $5 million Namibia for renovations. This was mentioned by Martin Kayonzo of the National Planning Commission at the mid-year budget review consultation with the civil society.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
National Planning Commission Acting Head of Sectoral Planning, Martin Kaonzo, said that this is an ongoing project which is carried out in phases and the Ministry of Health is currently busy with the renovations.
As we speak right now, there was some budget provision made available for the renovation and upgrading of Katutura State Hospital of 5 million, and so far the line ministry, which is the Ministry of Health and Social Services, they have started with the implementation of that budget allocations. As we speak right now, there is an execution rate of 21%, which is not bad, given the fact that we are only in 3 months of the budget implementation, yes.
After conducting an inspection this year, the Health Minister Kalumbi Shangula expressed concern about budgetary constraints that make it challenging to complete the renovations of the Katutura Intermediate Hospital. Council claims that the project has been ongoing and is being carried out in stages.
With regards to upgrading and renovation of Katutura State Hospital, this project has been ongoing. It's actually been implemented by phases. So year in, year out, we have been allocating resources to this project. In the current budget or current financial year, we have allocated an amount of 5 million, at which the line ministry has started already with the expenditure on that project. The expenditure so far, it actually stands at 21%. Yes, which is not actually so bad.
Job Amupanda, the former mayor of Windhoek, released a video on social media in June of this year detailing the deplorable conditions at the state hospital. President Hage Geingob also paid a visit to the Katutura Intermediate Hospital in 2020 after pictures of the facility's rundown conditions went viral on social media.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
The cost of chicken feed is one of the crippling factors for local poultry farmers who want to produce on a larger scale. The owner and manager of a poultry farm outside Okahanya said during a Farmers Information Day held by NEM Farmers magazine over the weekend that he uses 17 bags of 50 kilogram of chicken feed per day, which amounts to over 50,000 Namibia dollars weekly.
Farm owner of Chico's Eggs, Toivo Thomas, says the prices of chicken feed have continued to rise since the COVID-19 pandemic at the beginning of 2020. Thomas said small-scale chicken farming is not profitable as a lot of profit goes back into buying feed.
I'll always tell people, whatever you do, always try and grow organically. Start with, say, 50 birds, go to 100, from 100, 200, and then from then, that's just a hobby now. But then when you want to start like making money, I always say with egg production, always look at 6,000 and up birds now, because then you'll see a difference with the economy of scale. Because now for every egg that you produce, when you only have 20 birds, you think you're making money, but you're really not. You know, your money is probably going to go to NutriFeed or Feedmaster or wherever you have to pay off. But when you're looking at high numbers, then that's when you see a small return. So it's always good to try and grow organically, because you don't want to start with 6,000 birds and you don't even know how to farm.
The marketing and communication specialist of NAM Farmers magazine, Ishmael Henok, said to Agri on One that Namibia is not currently producing sufficient consumable poultry products to meet the nation's demand, leading to a continued need to import, and that poultry farmers need to upscale production so that Namibia no longer depends on outside countries for poultry products.
What is locally produced, we are only able to produce about, we said only about 1,000, based on the figures that we have, about 1,700 metric tons. So the other remaining, we have to then still rob it in, we have to import it in. So we still a greater demand in terms of us filling that space, in terms of fully meeting the entire demands on our own. And with that demand is where now we get to stimulate more people, we get to stimulate more people, those that are not involved, to actually involve. But it's not only about those that are involved, but also about further engaging with those that are with those that are already involved, how they can actually upscale their game.
According to Henok, NAM Farmers aims to come up with tailored practical solutions to the challenges that poultry farmers face by means of training and agricultural implementation management.
Now, with that, what we basically wanted to do, we wanted to inspire and actually stimulate those that want to enter the sector but we don't know how to go about it. But then we do also wanted to actually also just more give more of an encouragement to those that are already in the sector but maybe struggling with how to go to that next level. So it was all the combination of those. And with this one, what the number of participants that actually came to attend, it was quite a number, as there was those that has already started with poultry farmings, and but then there was also those that haven't yet started, but then they are just keen to start.
Henok added that upscaling production will create food security on a regional and national level, and that agricultural associations countrywide need to encourage and financially assist the growth of the poultry sector.
Visiting U.S. Under-Secretary Uzra Zia announced Namibia's top ranking in the Trafficking in Person report alongside Deputy Minister Janelle Matundu at a media conference on Friday. Namibia achieved Tier 1 status for its actions during 2021 in the fight against human trafficking, according to a U.S. State Department report. This is the third consecutive year that the Trafficking in Persons report ranked Namibia in the top tier, and Namibia remains the only Tier 1 African country. The United States is an active participant in Namibia's national coordinating body on trafficking in persons, which also includes the European Union, the International Organization for Migration, and other groups. The U.S. provided the funding for the NCB's analysis for Namibia's 2021 to 2026 plan to counter human trafficking. Under-Secretary Zia congratulated Namibia for its commitment in fighting the crime of human trafficking, noting that trafficking in persons is an international crime which requires cooperation among countries, NGOs, and international organizations to truly address it, adding that Namibia's leadership in this joint effort has saved many vulnerable people from falling victim to trafficking and helped rescue and treat those who have. More still needs to be done by America, by Namibia, and by the international community to put an end to this horrifying crime against an individual's rights, Zia said. Zia also met with President Hage and the two discussed joint efforts to advance shared global priorities on transnational crime, economic and racial justice, and human rights. Uzra Zia is the U.S. State Department's Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, the equivalent of a deputy minister.
Now let's cross over to the business desk with Joseph Shifeni.
Welcome to this evening's edition of Business on One. The Minister of Mines and Energy, Tom Alwendo, said the government is unable to lower fuel prices below the cost at which it is bought. The Minister made this remark at a recent information sharing session held in Walfish Bay, where he also informed the residents that government is in no position to subsidize fuel prices.
Namibia is a net importer of petroleum products, and the Line Ministry adjusts local prices on a monthly basis. The country has seen a continuous rise in fuel prices at the pump in recent months as a result of geopolitical tension in Europe, with government reducing levies since May for 3 months to cushion the blow.
For the last couple of months, really, this price has just been going up. And it's going up because where it's bought is where the price is increasing. It's really very difficult, and I can understand when the consumers say this is too much, you can't bear it. But unfortunately, the government is not in a position to subsidize the price like some other countries might be in a position because they got access to some revenue that they can use to reduce that price to the consumer. The only thing we could have done, which we did 2 months ago, we had a discussion with the people, some of the people who are receiving that levy, like the MBA, the taxmen, which is NAMRA, the NEF. We had a discussion where we agreed to temporarily halve those levies that we used to get. It wasn't really a lot, but at least this is temporary. We believe that can be passed on to the consumer. And the total levy that is actually, if you add up all those levies, it makes about $2.50 if you add up all the levies. And the rest really is either the lending cost or the dealer margin, including also the wholesaler margins. We have been having the discussion with the fuel retailers who argue to say we need to add a little bit more on their $1.13 per liter as part of their profit margin. While we understand the pain they're going through, whatever we agree to add on that margin will help them to reflect in the price of the consumer. And the consumer is already suffering, so we can't afford this price. And the last thing you then also want is actually to add more pain to what they're already suffering. It's really, really a difficult situation, I think we all find ourselves. And we're just hoping that the geopolitics somehow will improve such then that we will have a stabilizing oil price.
On the oil discoveries, Alwendo notes that production will take up to 9 years to be fully realized, which gives the country enough time to ready itself. Further clarifying that the 10% ownership by government is only carried interest and that government will benefit up to 55% of revenue.
In the modeling that we have got, we are likely to get between 55 and 65% of the revenue which come from the oil, selling of oil. And I'm mentioning this because there is a concern to say, wait a minute, we got oil, but NAMCO only has got 10% share in the oil. Why can't we have, some people say, why can't we have 50%, for example? And it's important to know that the NAMCO shareholding is carried interest, it's not paid for, it's simply carried interest because it's our resource. And people say, but 10% is not enough because you're only getting only 10 out of 100. That might be the case, but as I was saying, if you also then look at the fact that you're getting up to 55-65% of the revenue, that's probably much more than if you were only to concentrate on the ownership. And the way you get the ownership is only when there's profit made and there's a dividend declared, and then you get rewarded on your ownership of 10%. I would rather want to know, if you are making $1 billion as a revenue, how much of that $1 billion do I get? Because I know from that $1 billion you're going to take off all the expenses. And before I know, there's only this much left on which I'm going to get a 10%. So I rather really want to make sure that my negotiation, to make sure that I do get sufficient revenue from the revenue that you have generated.
Alwendo also encouraged business people in the country to follow discussions around the oil discovery and green hydrogen, as they are industries with a requirement for local content.
The clock has struck for your daily business and financial news update. Brought to you by The Brief.
Cabinet is yet to decide on whether to extend or remove the fuel price relief measures introduced in May. The temporary relief measures are expected to lapse at the end of this month. Ministry of Mines and Energy spokesperson Andrea Simon said the ministry has submitted a submission to Cabinet seeking for approval or an opinion on whether the levy amnesty can be maintained and extended for another 3 months, or to reduce it further if the situation worsens. The Energy Ministry announced a reduction in petrol prices by $1.20 for May and diesel prices by 30 cents, while at the same time introducing temporarily reduced levies on all petroleum products through the reduction of the NAMCO levy, road usage charges and fuel tax by 50%, while the MVA levy was reduced by 25%. According to Road Fund Administration Chief Executive Officer Ali Ipinge, companies will endure extreme financial losses, which will eventually be extended to the end user, who will get a disservice even though they benefit from reduced fuel price. Ipinge said the effects of such a drastic measure will mostly be felt by the motorists who will be driving on bad roads, hence the vehicle operating cost will be much higher, even though they benefit in terms of reduced fuel price. He said the company has lost revenue in excess of $300 million as a result of reduced levy, and will be forced to terminate maintenance contracts because there will be no more to pay these contractors. MVA CEO Rosalia Martin Usiku said a further extension of the reductions of its levy will be detrimental to the fund's capability to deliver care to its clients. There is no relief in sight from rising interest rates amid indications that the Bank of Namibia will announce a major hike come August, after the South African Reserve Bank on Thursday announced a 75 basis points hike, the biggest hike since September 2002. Namibia's central bank generally takes a leaf from the South African Reserve Bank to maintain the local currency's peg to the South African rand. FNB Namibia Group economist Rusa Nandago said they expect BON to follow with a 75 basis points hike in August. This would be a prudent response, as falling behind the curve and catching up later might prove to be costly. She said the expected hike by BON will impact negatively on borrowers who will have to fork out more towards servicing their loans, while a positive development for investors who will now earn a higher interest for their investment. However, it bodes ill for individuals who have loans, as the interest payment on this will be higher. Given the pegged exchange rate agreement with South Africa, Namibia will likely follow the interest rate decision by the South African Reserve Bank. She added that the government will also feel the effects of the South African Reserve Bank hike, as it will have to allocate more revenue towards servicing its debt. The 2021 MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs has for the third consecutive year ranked Botswana with 38.5%, Uganda 38.4%, and Ghana 37.2% as the countries with the most women business owners globally. The index benchmark indicator is calculated as a percentage of total business owners. This is the third edition of the MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs, which puts a spotlight on the significant socio-economic contribution of women entrepreneurs around the world, including Africa, and provides insights on the factors driving and inhibiting their achievement. In many African countries, women's advancement is hampered by less supportive entrepreneurial conditions, a lack of funding, less opportunities for higher level education, as well as structural barriers. Botswana, however, scores in the top 15 economies globally in terms of advancement outcomes for women, particularly as far as performance by income is concerned, outperforming high-income and developed economies such as Canada, the USA, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Australia. Botswana also scores highly in MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2021 Women's Labor Force Participation Rates, ranking 13th globally. According to the report, Nigeria, alongside Angola and Ghana, ranked first globally in the Women's Entrepreneurship Activity Rate in MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2021.
This was your daily Namibian business and financial news update. For in-depth stories, read more on thebrief.com.na now.
And that is all we have for you. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages for more on the business front.
Win free airtime with Learn on One. Tell us what's your favorite subject on Learn on One and win $50 airtime. SMS your answer, name, age, and the town you live in to 555. Standard T's and C's and SMS rates apply. Learn on One. Invite learning in.
The Landless People's Movement leader Bernardo Swartboy said that the City of Windhoek Council needs to review their remuneration system, stating that it is excessive. Swartboy made these remarks after media reports emerged that the City of Windhoek's mayor and a member of the LPM, Sadei Governors, is receiving double benefits from the city. Congo said as the mayor of Okahanya, the only remuneration he received was 6,500 Namibian dollars. King says the system is corrupt, and instead of focusing on service delivery, they are focusing on enrichment. Charles says all political parties are the same and that self-enrichment is the order of the day. Joe said they should accept accountability and not blame the ruling party. Jay Sean said the city is in a mess and the opposition are unable to bring about change. Shandi said the Anti-Corruption Commission should step in. Diogenes says the First Lady was right. Corruption is only bad when you are not eating. That's all from Comments Corner. Be sure to engage on our stories on our social media pages for broadcast on Today on 1. Up next is Castro Lumbu with the latest in sports.
Welcome to this week's edition of Sports on One. I'm your host, Castro Ulumbu. The Independent Security Services today has continued its sponsorship of an event organized by the Hakahana youth in the Moses Karuep constituency. The security company sponsored a trophy which will be awarded to the winner of the second edition of the Youth Empowerment Youth Football Tournament this Saturday. The Independent Security Services entered into a partnership with the event's organizers in May this year during its first edition. The company's general manager, Ivan Nguchinado, says that they are pleased with the Hakana youth for the initiative they started and has assured a longer partnership with the event.
We are sponsoring the youth because we want to take out people from the street. Independent security is not for us, it's for the public. What you are getting, we have to give it back to them. But the other question is going to ask now, why this specific person that we are sponsoring? This person approached our office and then asked we are interested in it because independent security is recruiting people from the street. We are not recruiting people that is having grade 12 or what. This is what we are doing, and we train our own people. Even my own supervisor or chiefs and all these people are the people from the ground, from the security officer up to where we are. And this is where I start also, me, myself. I started from the ground. I never go to university, like doing an inside training. That's why we are going out and say, no, let's invest in youth, then we sponsor the youth. The first time when we were doing it, the first sponsor was, we are providing them with security officers, where they was on the ground. I think there were six of them, include the supervisor. And this is the second sponsor. But we are not going to stop as long as the economy is going up. We are going to do it for any person who is coming in. If long as money is there, if it's a sponsor is there. The sponsorship, the first one that we say we were giving, we didn't give in terms of money, we give in terms of the security officer. And security officer, when they're on the ground there, as the company itself have to pay them. It's not money that is coming from me. The second one, we are going to give them a trophy. The final, the trophy is from Independent Security.
Event organizer Simon Mandume highlighted that the aim of hosting such events in the community is to empower the youth through sports. Mandume received a partnership assurance by the event's main sponsor to host the finals this coming Saturday.
We got the sponsorship from Independent Security Services, which is our main sponsor, and we also got a sponsorship from a company called Southern Towing from Ketman Shop, and that's for the second prize. And we also get a sponsorship from a company from Walfish Bay. It's from the owner is Master Max Benade. It's a big company that is in logistics, and it's not their first time actually on supporting sport. They do it occasionally. So it's just a way of taking the youth off from the street and from alcohol and drug abuse. We're still gonna figure out the first prize because we want them. Our aim is actually just to support them with blankets, because you know the situation now. We want the team actually to go buy blankets. So we are still figuring out the price. Not actually, we don't know how much, but we want to do something better.
The first edition of the Youth Empowerment event took place in May 2022, which saw several youth taking part in different sport codes in the informal settlements of Hakana in the Moses Garweb constituency under the leadership of its constituency councillor Aili Venonia. Apart from football, the fun day also included an amateur boxing event. Thank you for watching. Catch us again tomorrow for more updates on Sports on One.
Thank you, Castro. Now let's have a look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
A look at the weather forecast. The interior will be partly cloudy and warm to hot. A few light showers are most likely over the extreme eastern parts of the Hardap region in places. A fresh northerly to a northwesterly wind in the interior. The coast will be partly cloudy and mild with morning fog patches. The wind moderate northwesterly to southwesterly.
That's all we have for you. Please don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. From me, Isai Sipunga, and the rest of the team, it's good night.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
It's not a race. It's an adventure. It's this epic thing that you get to do. You get to run an unbelievable distance in a place that's almost untouched. And we've been able to, in 7 days, travel the entire country and stay at some of the most beautiful lodges. We've had an exquisite rainy season. There's very few people who've seen the country ever in their lifetime the way it is right now. It's mind-blowing. Been running for about 8 years, ultra. I like to push hard and run far and do things that the average person doesn't do. For many years, I've wanted to do the 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. And when COVID happened, it became very clear that that was never going to happen for us. Travel, international races, it was all just taken away from us. So suddenly you have these people who are living for running, who are living for traveling, and now there's nothing. Caletso phones me the one day and says, you know, he thinks maybe we should actually make this work. Him and I have been talking for about 4 years about it and how much we'd love to do this. He says, let's do it in Namibia. Now I need to find people to come along with me because this is not a simple thing to do. You need somebody who's willing to run almost 300 kilometers in 7 days. How do you train for that? And I put on Facebook, and the next thing you know, people are contacting and can they come along? And
I'm Marisa Dreyer. Like I said, I'm from Windhoek and I've always loved running. I initially saw Kirsty's Facebook post and I immediately phoned her and said, please put me on your list because this is exactly the kind of event which I love.
Well, I've been running for basically as long as I've been alive. I've run basically every continent, I think, except the Americas. This was fun. This is the most fun I've had in all the races that I've ever done.
My name is Joey Shihama, an ultra-marathon runner. I got an email actually from Kirsty. I said, yes, Kirsty, it's a challenge, so I'm up for it.
Ordinarily, when you do a marathon, you're done and you go home, you rest, and it's lacquer. Now we have to go home, get our things ready, and tomorrow morning you got to get up and do it again. Mentally, it's been unbelievably difficult. The terrain obviously changes. So for example, when we were at the Cannon Lodge, you couldn't run very far because the sand was so thick. So then you start negotiating with yourself. So mentally, you have to push yourself because honestly, your body can do it. You know, if you train like we train, your body can do it. The physical part hasn't been the hardest, but man, your head. I've been blown away just by the support. The staff are suddenly running with us.
It was the most beautiful scenery. It was just magic, you know, running through those hills. You were mostly alone.
I love Kleinhaus Vista. It's so unlike what I'm used to from Swakop. Over mountains and it's fast and it's, you know, very challenging and it's exciting.
My favorite part was getting lost on Pitt's Mountain. That will go down in history.
The Kleinhaus Vista was the most difficult one. I took the wrong route, but also made it to the 49-kilometer mark.
But I like the way how the team came together and we all found each other with no network, but everything worked out well. I think that's the worst case scenario and we shone through it.
I think the most difficult part is to get up every day and restart the challenge. It's not like you can do it every day in the same headspace. Some days are obviously hard and some days are easier. I think it comes quite naturally if you have a passion for running.
Wherever I was explaining things to people on Facebook and on social media and things, I said, geez, today was tough, eh? But oh, my stack is beautiful. You know, how lucky are we?
My favorite terrain to run is the Namib Desert.
I've been very surprised at how well my body is handled. You know, you kind of run, your body knows what it's doing. It just keeps going because we're not racing, we're not pushing to our maximum at any stage. I mean, we've been incredible terrain, but we've not been pushing that hard. The support obviously is very special. There's these messages coming from people talking about what an inspiration it is. And that was never what we were intending to do. We were a couple of runners who wanted to go and do something friggin' awesome. And suddenly people are coming saying, I've never run, but I've seen what you guys are doing, now I want to run. You know, that's what it is.
My favorite part of this experience was the people that kept us going, that kept us supporting us on the road. And my favorite part of the marathon was also in the Swakopmund, where everybody came out to support us, and all the Swakopmund people came out. So
It was a surprise!
Damaraland, we struggled because there'd been a lot of rain and the grass, and the terrain was completely different to when I actually came ahead of the time and did the runs there and worked out the loops. Everything was suddenly different from the rain. So there's grass, you can't see the trails anymore. To do loops is always going to be difficult, especially on day 6 of 7 marathons. So mentally, Damaraland, it was very tough for me.
The most difficult part was waking up at 5 a.m. and thinking, okay, I'm going to run another 42. But the minute we started, you know, the scenery just like makes you forget what you did yesterday.
Today was tough because we were on the tar road, but that was unfortunately something we had to do. It was a safety issue, and that's something that it's a non-negotiable. You know, if at all times our #1 priority has been to keep our runners safe. So when it came down to the grass is too high, there's loads of snakes, we could not allow for a dangerous environment for one of our runners. Okay, so it was a decision. But when you've been running 6 marathons on beautiful soft terrain, which is what it is when you off-road, and then you hit tar. Man, our knees today, our bodies were... So I think yesterday and today were probably the harder of the lot.
The last part was the most difficult part. I almost gave up at 31 kilometers. And then I thought of not giving up because I know where I started this.
No, it was even better than I expected or would I have imagined. And yes, we finished today, and it was an absolute highlight of my year this far, actually for the past 2 years.
So it's just been, man, it's just next level. Everything that we've been through over this last 7 days is just insane.
It was a wonderful experience, and I would love everybody to join and to come take part of it.
The stories about Gondwana 7, the marathon series, are insane. Risa would run a sub-4 every day. And there's Joe, who managed to do 6 out of 7 marathons with a busted knee. And Kirsty is the wild one. She led the group out into a rocky desert with no water, 20 kilometers off course. You know what? Maybe you should call these guys the Fab Four. They have different strengths, but together they make great music. We're rock stars, man. And we got the stones to prove it.
You know, the distance means nothing, but where we've been and what we've seen, and the laughs that we've had and the friendship and stuff, that's what the last 7 days has been.